Hello and welcome back. And yes, they were slugs on one of the Chinese cabbages. Really enjoying having a nice feast there the other night. So I'll cover that in a bit. What I'm going to do is what I've sown and grown in May and what I'm planning to still sow, and just to catch up with how everything's going. So where do we start? I think we'll start off with the tomatoes. Right, and I also forgot to mention is I'll be covering later on various different plants that actually we tend to forget to sow, and it's the ideal time to sow these right now. Right, back to those tomatoes. Right, tomatoes, like I say, everybody's favourite, and everybody's discussing how they're going to be growing them. And what I will do is I'll do a recap on why I started mine so early, and how the forcing has helped in some ways and been a hindrance as well, and also how the growing the side shoots is coming on. But first, these are the brassicas and the, let's see if you can see, the Czar, and these are the ones I have for my mum. And these are really doing really well at the moment. There's plenty of flowers on them, and also plenty of fruit just setting. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take out this cherry Chadwick. I think because this is probably the best example of how they're doing. Whoops. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cherry Chadwick out, and I'm just going to show you a bit more of a close-up of how it's doing. Like I say, it has got fruit on it. It's doing pretty well at the moment. So yeah, I'll take this out and put it on the big table up there. Right, so this is the cherry Chadwick, and here's a vine tomato. And what I did was a bit of a recap. I wanted to force or stress these plants. And the whole idea of stressing them is, say for example you leave it in a pot too long and it gets a bit root bound, that starts to stress it. So I started these off really early. I started them off on the 21st of January, and I kept it quiet because I didn't want to be laughing at me for starting them so early. And then on the 7th of February I potted them on, and they stayed in the pots until about 3 weeks ago, when I did the video of potatoes and tomatoes. And what I've done is I've planted them up to here, and that way I wanted to plant them up to where the first side shoots were coming out. Because one thing I wanted to do was to force them by stressing them, which will hopefully reduce the distance between the trusses and also reduce the height of the first truss. And then also I wanted to grow quite a lot from the side shoots as well. So on the reducing of the truss, I think that's worked out pretty well, because that's what, about 8 inches, less than 8 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 inches that is. And what they normally are is about 10 to 12 inches for the cherry Chadwick. So that certainly has worked. There's one truss here that's fruited, second truss here, third truss there, there's here, that's another side shoot, and there's a fourth truss there. And what I'll probably do is just only allow it to get up to around about, what are we? Let me just show you. Probably only allow it to get up to about here. And like I say, I'm also going to be doing growing off the side shoots. So that's one of the other things is when you're growing off side shoots, or if you have a real nice side shoot like this one here, is you don't always have to grow, say, 8 of the same tomato plant. You could now start to take off that side shoot, take off these leaves and these leaves, and just leave this last bit here. And then you cut it just below or above one of the nodes, the leaf nodes, and then either stick it into water or stick it into some very wet soil and keep it wet for the next couple of days, and that will root and then you have another plant. And one of the benefits of that is you've actually reduced the distance where the first truss is going to be. So if you do feel like one or two of your plants haven't done too well, you can give that a go and see how that works for you. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring you in a bit closer and I'll go through maybe some of these side shoots. I've left every side shoot on at the moment because I just want to give myself enough choice to see which ones I'm going to go with. Right, just to bring you in a bit closer, again a bit more of a recap, is I filled up the pot just up to the first side shoot. Because like I say, I want to grow off these first side shoots as well. This one hasn't yet got the first trusses on them, but I've left all the side shoots on there just to give me as much choice as I possibly can have, and I'll see how many I actually keep. Like I say, we've already got our first fruiting tomato, and again, like I was saying on the side shoot, if you take off all the leaves up to this first one here, then and cut it round about here, you should hopefully get some nice roots and be able to get a nice plant off that. Like I say, that's if you're a bit short on some tomato plants. I think everybody's got too many. We always hedge our bets. And these are my house dwarf tomatoes. Give you a bit more of a close-up there. So I started these off around about the 16th of December. I've grown them a couple of years on the run, but what I want to do this year is to try and keep it growing over the Christmas period, give it a bit of a haircut, and then hopefully it'll regrow again for the spring next year. Because apparently these could last up to 5 years if you keep on doing this process, because they're always meant to be indoors. There's no worries about getting hit by frosts. So I was expecting a bit more flowers. Like I say, there's quite a few on there, but I was hoping for them to be a bit more developed and started fruiting by now. But again, still a bit more of a learning experience about these, because I didn't even know they could keep them over the winter time. So I just chucked them every year. So this year I'm going to see how they go. Hopefully I may do another sowing round about the end of June to see if that sowing will take me even further into January. We'll see how we go. This grew just on a windowsill with no heat at all and no artificial light. It literally was whatever was there coming through the window. And we've had a real terrible spring, so I am actually pleased with how much it's growing, but I was hoping for more of the fruit to be set by now. Just starting to set, some of them are. Right, I'll take these in and bring you back down to the brassicas next. Right, so I have planted on quite a lot of brassicas, and I've also sown quite a lot, and I've already potted those on, so I'll cover those in a minute. But I planted out these kohlrabi last week, and on the next day, one of the pigeons completely devoured the first couple of leaves on this kohlrabi. So they were all lying on the ground, so I came down that night. This is the clip of all the slugs that are actually on this Chinese cabbage, and they were choosing the Chinese cabbage even though we had all the leaves that have fallen from the kohlrabi. Right, that really was a surprise to me. Also how much that slugs, even though they had the freshly nibbled leaves on the ground for the kohlrabi, they still went for this Chinese cabbage. So they certainly do like the Chinese cabbage above brassicas. Right, so I'll cover the rest of the brassicas next. Right, so these are the green acre and the red acre that I hadn't planted on from last week, and these are all summer purple sprouting broccoli. And again, they got the protection of the Chinese cabbage. That really does seem to be working well. And what I'm also going to be using is probably pak choy as well, especially for in between the lettuces, because the Chinese cabbage now is spreading out. I need something a little bit more tighter to go in between, tighter planting. So I've also sown and started to pot on a lot more brassicas, so I'll cover those next. Right, so I've still got spares of the Brendan and also the Bridget and one kohlrabi. So I've still got spares just in case they do get attacked by the slugs. And then I've got all these. So these are my kales, cottage, blue dazzle, and I think it's red Russian. More Chinese cabbages. And we've also got the purple sprouting broccoli for winter. You started from April and I think you can go right the way up to July. I'm not sure, I think maybe even later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a second sowing. So all I've done is I've kept 2 of the, I think that's Cardinal, and 2 of the Rudolph. And then I'm going to do another sowing, maybe end of May, possibly mid-June. So get a bit more of a succession of the purple sprouting broccoli in January, February, March and April. So with these being so early, hopefully I'll get it around about January, late January to February, and then the next sowing in mid-June, I get those in March and April. But again, it's more of a trial thing. It all depends on how well the seasons go for us. And the seasons aren't going too well for us at the moment. We had no spring and now we've just got a lot of heat, so I'm finding it hard to remember to keep on watering things. You can either overwater or underwater at the moment, and especially these types of pots. It can really be, these are the Charles Dowding ones, they're really good to a certain degree, but keeping them watered and not overwatering so that everything dampens off is a bit of a fine art at the moment, and I haven't mastered that. Right, on to what we do next, carrots or potatoes. Let's do potatoes next. Right, so I've actually forgotten. I've also done 5 of the Calabrese Marathon. And what I'm going to do now is do another sowing of maybe 5, but just only keep 2. And then every 3 weeks do another sowing of those and just keep 1 or 2. So hopefully during the summer I just have the purple sprouting broccoli and the Calabrese Marathon, and that's all I have to protect from the butterflies, because the kohlrabi should be finished by then. And I've also done another sowing and potted on 5 more kohlrabi, but because there's only a small amount of them there, then hopefully I can be able to protect them. Right, potatoes. And this is the last of the potatoes I'm going to be sowing. These are the Charlottes. So I've done 3 tubs there, 3 tubs here. That was the earliest sowing, and the second sowing is just starting to show now. And what I'm doing this time is doing this a little bit deeper bed first and then popping them in then. So we go with that way up. That one. And that way, there's that one. And I also did a full bed up at the top by the climbing bed, and that had 10 Nadine in, which is a second early. So that's it. That's the only potatoes I'm going to be growing this year. Just again to give me a bit more space so I can grow more of, say, the Mange 2 and other bits and pieces. I'm just trying to find the right balancing act where I don't want to have just a huge amount of pots, because at the same time there's a lot of watering I've got to do. Right, onto the carrots or onions. We'll go with the onions next. But before I mention that, I've also done the radishes and sown a couple of lines of these turnips, sweet Diane and snowball. Again, that I'll just keep on doing a few sowings of those in the next couple of weeks, just as I try and find space and fill in a bit of space here and there. Right, on to these onions. Right, so this bed and that bed is onions. That's got the interplanted lettuces in, and this has got the sweet peas at each end and the mini cucumbers. I put the sweet peas in, I think, at the start of May, and they're starting to get a bit of good growth on those now. And it's the same with the cucumbers. I put them in, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago, and they're getting a bit of good growth on them as well. So these warm, muggy days are doing really well for them at the moment. Right, this bed, let me show you these onions. Right, so I've got, these are the same white onions that are in there, the overwintering ones. They went in a lot later, but they are bulbing up. And then we've got these are the red, I think it's red baron, and this one here has got a flower spike on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use that one tonight in a stir fry. And it's not the end of the world, because I've got way too many leeks, and that's what I'm going to interplant in between here. And once the lettuce and the Chinese cabbage is still getting devoured, is finished, then there'll be more leeks going in between all of these rows, which is doing fine at the moment, but still need a few more weeks or months before getting interplanted in. So that's just going to give me more space. So I'm fine about that. Right, carrots next. Right, so these are the carrots I did in May. This was the Touchon and Moscade, and these were the ones I did in April, early Nance and Eskimo. So what I'm going to do now is, because these haven't really germinated as well as I hoped, I will sow some more in these. That's the, like I say, the Touchon and the Moscade. So they're also the same time as when I bought these. These are large half-long carrot. Now they are just a small fat carrot. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to do the whole tub with these, and we'll see what we get. And I'm going to do quite a thick sowing, because I think the seed now is a bit old. I think it's about 3 years old. So I say I'll do it a heavy sowing, and we'll see what we get. That's the name of them. Right, it's a lot easier when you're just sowing one type of carrot, whereas I've been doing halves with these tubs. And I will do another tub, and that's going to have, I think, maybe the Auto King 2, and I may go with another one in there as well. Like I say, this is a real heavy sowing. And this is just sieved spent compost. Right, so I'll finish that off in a bit. Next is the runner beans, which I didn't finish off last week. Right, so these are the butter beans that I ran out of time, and the weather was against me last week, finishing off. So we've got the Greek gigantes on that side and the Czar on this side, and I've done them around about 3 per station, and they are quite tight. So here's the clip of me finishing them off I think it was last week. Right, so picking up from yesterday's video, because it just didn't stop raining. So these are the Greek gigantes and these are the Czar. They're pretty much the same in size and also for the size of the shoot. So it looks like the Greek is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to put that on the far side and the Czar on the near side. What's interesting is the Czar, you can just see that it's got another shoot coming up as well. Right, let's see if we can get all these planted today and finally get them planted. Right, that's the Greek gigantes, roughly around about 3 per station. And I think we've got 11 in. So that's hopefully going to get a nice healthy harvest from those. Right, I'm just going to cover those up now. Right, because it was quite sunny, I've just carried on with the Czar and the -2, the basil. There's 8 down that end and there's 8 down this end, and there's 3 again per station for the Czar. And that's it. All I've got to do is water this in now, and then we'll keep on watering it and get the power cord, and that's it. I'm just going to leave this bed, so when they're ready to harvest as fresh, I can harvest them then, or just leave them to dry off to the nice dry pods. So we'll see how we go. They do look really big butter beans, so I'm really looking forward to see what harvest we get. And I know there's probably too many plants in here, but because we're climbing up, let's just see how it goes. It's a learning experience because I've not done these before, and I'd rather hedge my bets with putting more in because I don't know whether all of them are going to come up. Right, so that brings me on to what else I'm going to be sowing for the rest of the month, and also what else, or what is the plant that we keep on missing, and this is the ideal time, and that's herbs. This is coriander. I know it's going to seed, but I'm just keeping it just to use the actual coriander root for the green Thai curry paste. So I'm going to show you how I cheat to do the basil class. That's completely failed, that has again. Right, so May and probably most of April, but May is definitely an ideal time to be growing herbs and to start them off. And you get a huge amount of seeds per each packet. You know, most of the packets I get are around about 1,000 seeds, and they're so easy to grow, except for my nemesis, which is basil, which is why I cheat. Because I've got the lime basil, that's all right, but just normal sweet basil, I just never seem to get a good germination. So that's why I cheat on that. But I also use herbs throughout the garden, just as pollinators, but also again as culinary. So one of my old favourites is pineapple mint or apple mint. I mean, that used to be quite common in the shops. I'm going to show my age now, but you used to be able to go and pick that up at Focus, the DIY store. I used to get that quite often from there. And pineapple mint, I really enjoy cooking, well, not cooking with it, but using it in salads as raw. Because it gets all your taste buds right the way along your tongue up there, so it's a real tangy flavour. Pineapple mint is the variegated apple mint, so if you can get hold of either of those as plants or as seeds, then that is a good one to start off with. I know mint has got a bad reputation because it can actually just be a bit of a bully in the garden, but if you just use it in pots and every now and then just lift the pot up just to check there's no roots coming out of the bottom of it, then that should be all right. So I'm also luckily going to a herb specialist at the weekend, so hopefully I'm going to pick up some of that. I use herbs, like I say, right the way through the garden. Another one is, hopefully I'm in shot here. So this is, if I get the right, hopefully I get the right name, stridolo. It's an Italian herb, and it's a mixture, or it tastes like tarragon, rocket and chicory. So this is quite common in, I think it's North Italy, and they actually have a festival in April because it starts to come back. Now, we planted up about 30 plants right the way along here, and last year it just did nothing, but this year it's just blooming away, and it's got lovely flowers on it. I'll do a bit of a close-up now. Right, so we've got oregano, and I'm going to be making a herb bed up there. So this is one that we've got for going up there. Now that's supposed to be the same as wild marjoram. Now we've got wild marjoram up at the top there, and that's native to the UK. And this for me is probably one of the best pollinators out there. It brings in so much, the bees just go mad for it. You know, if you can get hold of wild marjoram and put it in front of, say, your polytunnels just to bring in, or you've got an area where you need to bring in pollinators, then this really is the plant. For me, it's better than lavender. So it's supposed to be the same. Now, what do you think? To me, it doesn't taste the same. But like I say, everybody says it's the same, so I'll just go with that. So there's that. Again, you get 1,000 seeds in each packet, and that does self-seed everywhere. Oh, it's not that bad. Wild marjoram is not as bad as some of the others out there for self-seeding, but you do find it popping up all over the place. Right, so if you're like me and you really do get poor germination on the spring onions, that's White Lisbon, and that was really good. That was ramrod, and what was that? That's 5. Then chives are another good option. Now these are actually chives I've taken out of the patio, so they're literally just growing in the cracks in sand. And again, you know where you get, say, a big packet, you get 100 to a tub in the shops. You really only need around about 5 seeds to get a nice clump, because the ones in the shop, again, they will just become really root bound, and they will take over whatever pot that it's in. If you put one of those into this size pot, 2 or 3 years time, you'll just have pure roots, and that mass wouldn't have grown that much because it's all restricted. So if you just do 5 seeds in little spaces, that's all you need. And if you do it, I've got them all in one go because I've just taken them all out of the patio. But if you just do it every couple of weeks, sprinkling 5 seeds, then you're going to get a nice turnaround of the one lot will start to flower, which you can't eat the ones with the stalks on that have flowered, but all these you can eat, and they're really nice raw. I mean, they lose the flavour once cooked, but like I say, if you just want something spring onion type to go into the salads, then chives is another good one. Now that will self-seed anywhere, so once these start to turn brown, then I would take the heads off. Again, the heads, you can eat the heads, and yeah, it's a real good herb to keep growing. This one in the middle is actually a miniature version, which is the silver. So that's another one you can grow, and like I say, mints, as long as you put them in the pots, there's so many out there. I was looking it up last night. There's chocolate mint, banana mint, cherry mint. The list was just endless. Then you got the oreganos, like I say, the marjorams, chives. What else is there? There's all the different thymes. Now we use creeping thyme a lot in the garden. It's not out in flower just yet, but that's another one that you can grow just as a pollinator. But also you can every now and then just take a little clipping off it just to use in cooking. Then you got the normal thymes, lemon balm, which again is a bit of a bully, and that needs to be grown in a pot. What else is there? winter savory. Now that's another good one to grow, because that actually aids digestion. So if you're growing Jerusalem artichokes, then there's a side effect. So this is supposed to stop that side effect, where you produce a bit too much gas. And so you got that one as well. But like I say, start doing some maybe research and just see what seeds you can get hold of. I mean, I went on one site and there's hundreds of different varieties out there. So you can use them in the garden as pollinators, but you get around about 1,000 in a packet. Another one I've just started, there on the top shelves in the greenhouse, is Korean mint. That's used in teas, and it's quite highly regarded in Asian countries for that. And we just use it just purely as a pollinator. This is calamintha. Now I've got one over there, and I'll show you a clip now. And that one is called mint thyme. That's how it was sold to me. So it's slightly different to this one. But this is blue cloud, and it's pretty similar to the calamintha, the mint thyme I've got up there. So there's so many you can use, and plants to go into the beds, again, quite expensive. So this is why I use various different herbs. It's a cheap way to start to fill in beds. You just got to watch out that they don't self-seed everywhere. But like I say, you know, all those stridolos, I got 1,000 seeds. We've only got 30 plants. I've got a whole pack virtually, and I think the pack cost me £2, and I got a couple different packs of various different seeds at the time, so it wasn't that much for postage. So I've got, what, 30 plants for a couple of pence per plant, which in these days that's quite cheap. Right, I'm doing a bit of waffle, so I'm going to get back to this basil now. Right, so this is the basil. I've already given it a couple of washes, but as you can see, I still need to do another wash. So what I'm going to do is just do the clip from last year, and then what I'm going to do is just come back . Right, so I've stopped that a bit short, and what I did was I just put it into separate pots, 9 centimetre pots for each one. But with 18 plants, it just took over everything. So what I'm going to do this year is I've got a 3 litre pot, and I'm going to do probably about 6 plants into there. And I'm going to see how I go with this one. Again, I'm just trying it out. Like I say, last year I just ended up with a full bed of basil, and it just got too crowded. So I'm going to see how I go with just putting in, yeah, like I say, 4 to 6 in a 3 litre. Right, it's a bit of a long one. So, like I always say, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again.